What's happening around the world
and what's happening here at home. A very good evening. You're watching Primetime News on TV1 for the Newsfirst team member Shelton Modera.
And I'm Sandra Ferdinando. Let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
IMF ready to support Sri Lanka's development and reform goals. Moodys expresses confidence in economic reform under new president. 9 new governors appointed. Postal voting application process for general elections begin. Fleet of vehicles used by former government left unattended. Wasantha Samarasinghe visits Galle face.
මෙතෙක්කල් අපේ රටේ මහජන දේපල පාවිච්චි වෙලා තියෙන හැටි තමයි මේ.
Immigration Controller General Harshalu Pittiya to be remanded over contempt of court allegations. President Anura Kumara addresses the nation.
President Anura Kumara Dissanayaka affirmed that the current administration is prepared to shoulder the responsibility of building the nation as a united team determined to fulfill the expectations of the people. He expressed these views during a special address to the nation today.
අප අපේක්ෂා කරන වෙනස සඳහා සැලකියුතු කාලයක් තුළ පියවර රැසක් ගැනීමට තිබෙනවා. එහෙත් ඒ සියල්ල රැඳී පවතින්නේ වර්තමාන ආර්ථිකය තුළ ස්ථාවරත්වය හා විශ්වාසය ගොඩනැන්වීමෙන් පමණයි. ඒ සඳහා ජාත්‍යන්තර මූල්‍ය අරමුදල සමග කඩිනමින් සාකච්ඡා ආරම්භ කර විස්තීර්ණ ණය පහසුකමට අදාළ කටයුතු ඉදිරියට ගෙන යාමට අප අදහස් කරනවා. ණය ප්‍රතිවගත කරන වැඩසටහන ඉදිරියට ගෙන යාම සඳහා අදාළ ණය පාර්ශ්ව සමග සාකච්ඡා කර ඒ සම්බන්ධ කටයුතු හැකි ඉක්මනින් නිම කර අදාළ ණය සහන ලබා ගැනීමට අපි කටයුතු කරනවා. ඒ සඳහා මේ රටේ ජනතාව වගේම ජාත්‍යන්තර ප්‍රජාවගේ සහයෝගයත් ලබා ගත හැකි බවට අප විශ්වාස කරනවා. ඒ සහයෝගය තුලින් අපිට සාමූහික ජයග්‍රහණ කළ හැකි බව අපි තරයේ විශ්වාස කරනවා. අපට බලය ලබා දීමේදී මහ ජනතාව තුල තදින් මුල් බැසක සංකල්පයක් වූවේ වෙනසක් ඇති කිරීමයි. මෙතුලින් වෙනසක් යන්නේ මෙරට පුරවැසි අපේක්ෂා කරන ලද වෙනස්කම් අතර එක් ප්‍රධාන කරුණක් වන්නේ දේශපාලන සංස්කෘතියේ පවතින සීළු ආකාරයේ අයහපත් ගති ලක්ෂණ වෙනස් කිරීමයි. අද වන විට එය අප භාවිතාවෙන් ඔප්පු කොට තිබෙනවා. නීතිගරුක රටක් නිර්මාණය කරමින් විනයගරුක සමාජයක් ඇති කරන්න අපි කැප වෙනවා. සියලුම පුරවැසියන්ගේ සමාජ ආරක්ෂාව තහවුරු කරනවා. නීති ඉදිරියේ සැවොම සමාන යන සංකල්පයට අප යලි ජීවය ලබා දෙනවා. අප රට ගොඩනැන්වීමේදී රාජ්‍යශීලී විශාල කාර්යභාරයක් පැවරුන බව අප විශ්වාස කරනවා. මේ රටේ මහ ජනතාවගේ ජීවන තත්ත්වය නැන්වීම අපේ අපේක්ෂාවයි. ඒ වෙනුවෙන් ප්‍රායෝගික වැඩපිළිවෙලක් අප ක්‍රියාවට නංවනවා. ජනතාව මත පැටවී ඇති අධික ජීවන බර අවම කිරීම සඳහා අප පියවර ගන්නවා. අපේ රටේ ජනගහනයෙන් 52% ඉක්මවන කාන්තා ප්‍රජාව මේ රට ආර්ථිකය සහ සමාජ ක්‍රියාවලියේ සුවිශාල දායකත්වයක් දක්වන පිරිසක්. කාන්තා නියෝජනය සම්බන්ධ සියලු දෙනාට එක්ව ගත හැකි ක්‍රියාමාර්ග වෙතට අපි යොමු වෙනවා. සියලු ආයතනයන්හි කාන්තා නියෝජනය ශක්තිමත් කිරීමට අපි පියවර ගන්නවා. ඒ සඳහා වන අපගේ කැපවීමේ ආදර්ශය සනාථ කරමින් දැනටමත් අපේ අග්‍රාමාත්‍ය ධූරයට කාන්තාවක් පත් කොට තිබෙනවා. අප පිළිබඳ සැකසංකා හේතුවෙන් අවිනිශ්චිතතාවය ඇති අය සිටින බව මා දන්නවා. මාගේ ක්‍රියාවන් තුළින් ඔබගේ විශ්වාසය දිනා ගැනීමට මා බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ඔබගේ සාධනීය විවේචන පිළිගැනීමට සූදානම්. එමෙන්ම අප එක්ව ගොඩනගන අනාගතයේ කොටස් කරවම් වීමට ඔබව ධෛර්යමත් කරනවා. අප අතර පවතින වෙනස්කම් අතික්‍රමණය කළ හැකි නම් ඔබ හා අප අතර ඇති ඉලක්ක සමාන වන බව ඔබට වැටහෙනු ඇතැයි මා විශ්වාස කරනවා. ඒ මගින් රට මුහුණ දී ඇති අර්බුදය පිළිගැනීමටත් ඒ තුළින් ඉදිරියට යාමට අවශ්‍ය උපාය මාර්ග එක්ව සැලසුම් කිරීමටත් හැකියාව ලැබෙනවා. මේ රට ගොඩනැගීම උදෙසා සාධනීය ලෙස අවංකව සම්බන්ධ වන සියලු දෙනාට අපේ දොරටු විවෘතයි.
The IMF chief has said that she is confident in President Anura Kumara Dissanayaka's leadership for Sri Lanka's future.
The managing director of the International Monetary Fund, Kristalina Georgieva, has said that she is confident that the leadership of President Anura Kumara Dissanayaka will help secure a future of stability, prosperity and inclusive growth for Sri Lanka. In a congratulatory letter to the newly elected president, Kristalina Georgieva said that the IMF greatly values the excellent engagement it has had with Sri Lanka over the years. She assured that the IMF remains a steadfast partner and stands ready to assist Sri Lanka to achieve its development and reform goals, including under the ongoing IMF-supported program. She also said that the IMF looks forward to working together with Anura Kumara Dissanayaka and his team towards building on the hard-won gains that have helped put Sri Lanka on a path of recovery since entering one of its worst economic crises. Kristalina Georgieva said that she looks forward to deepening the mutually beneficial relationship between the IMF and Sri Lanka.
Moodys, the international rating agency, has expressed confidence that Sri Lanka's ongoing reform agenda and macroeconomic policies will remain largely uninterrupted despite the recent political changes.
International rating agency Moodys does not expect significant disruption to the country's reform agenda or macroeconomic policies, which include the ongoing debt restructuring and structural adjustments under its program with the International Monetary Fund. It added that, however, some policies are likely to be reprioritized amid challenges in maintaining fiscal consolidation that could keep credit risks elevated for some time. Moodys said that fiscal consolidation would contribute to a durable strengthening of Sri Lanka's credit profile. However, Moodys expect the government's debt affordability to remain weak, with interest payments likely averaging 40 to 50% of revenue over the next 2 to 3 years, and still among the weakest across sovereigns, we rate, albeit an improvement from more than 70% in 2021. International rating agency Moodys does not expect any significant shifts in Sri Lanka's reform trajectory or policies, although some reprioritization is likely. It added that, crucially, former President Ranil Wickremesinghe had pushed through an Economic Transformation Act in Parliament in May. The Act, in the absence of a new act or changes approved by Parliament, will oblige future governments to the current set of economic and fiscal reforms, including adhering to fiscal and debt targets set under the IMF program. The Act also requires any government to present to Parliament the steps and measures being taken to achieve specific targets stipulated in the Act by 31st of March each year to maintain reform momentum. In terms of policy priorities, President Dissanayaka has spoken about the need to tackle corruption, alleviate conditions for the poor, and reduce austerity affecting social welfare while pursuing economic and fiscal reforms. The new president has not opposed Sri Lanka's debt restructuring deals and has said any changes to policy and reform measures will be in consultation with the IMF. However, he has opposed the privatization of state-owned enterprises in important sectors. International rating agency Moodys said that any negotiation of potentially revised targets or changes in specific measures will take time. There could be delays in disbursements or finalization of external debt restructuring with private sector creditors. It added that early parliamentary elections could also add to the delay. It added that besides fiscal reforms, Sri Lanka has also made considerable progress in rebuilding its external position, noting that the rebuilding of external buffers has fostered a more stable macroeconomic environment, including a return to real GDP growth, rapid disinflation, and improved balance of payments.
Fitch Ratings has reaffirmed Sri Lanka's rating at RD, which stands for Restricted Default. This rating indicates that the country has missed a payment on its debt obligations but is still in the process of restructuring its financial commitments. Fitch Ratings has affirmed Sri Lanka's long-term foreign currency issuer default rating at Restricted Default and long-term local currency IDR at CCC-. Fitch typically does not assign outlooks to issuers with a rating of CCC plus or below. The agency noted that the authority's recent announcement that a preliminary debt restructuring agreement has been reached, in principle, with members of the steering committee of the ad hoc group of bondholders representing foreign holders of Sri Lanka's international sovereign bonds and China Development Bank, suggests progress is being made. Fitch noted that while the current rating reflects ongoing difficulties, the government's commitment to reforms and engagement with international financial institutions could pave the way for recovery. The Colombo Stock Exchange saw a notable rise today as well. At the end of the day, the all-share price index increased by 325.59 points, reflecting a growth of 2.87%. Additionally, the S&P SL20 index showed a 4.09% increase. Today's turnover was recorded at 3.96 billion rupees. The consistent growth of the Colombo Stock Exchange since the start of this week is a significant highlight.
President Anura Kumara Dissanayaka held a meeting yesterday with Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, Governor of the Central Bank, and Mahinda Sirivardana, Secretary to the Ministry of Finance. According to the Government Information Department, the discussions focused on the current state of the economy, measures to stabilize it, and various factors impacting the country's economic situation.
The period for submitting postal vote applications for the parliamentary elections began today. And this is according to the Commissioner General of Elections, Saman Sri Ratnayaka.
President Anura Kumara Dissanayaka.
The parliamentary elections are scheduled to be held on the 14th November 2024 to ensure that the new parliament can convene by the 21st November 2024. Nominations for the parliamentary elections will be accepted from the 4th of October to the 11th of October until 12 noon. During this period, nominations will be accepted at the relevant district secretariats across the 22 electoral districts. Nominations must be submitted in the presence of the returning officer for the respective electoral district. Currently, there are 84 recognized political parties eligible to contest in this election along with independent candidates. Starting today, applications for postal voting will be accepted. The Election Commission will use further notifications regarding postal voting in due course.
අද දිනෙන් ආරම්භ වෙනවා තැපැල් ඡන්ද සඳහා ඇදුම් පත්වාර ගැන මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් මෙතන කමිටු සභාව විසින් අදාළ තැපැල් ඡන්ද සමාදාන නිවේදන ඔබ වෙත නිකුත් කරනවා ඉදිරියේදී.
President Anura Kumara exercised his constitutional powers to dissolve the Parliament of Sri Lanka. The President has set the date for the election of the new members of Parliament for the 14th of November 2024. The newly elected Parliament is scheduled to convene on the 21st of November 2024. The nomination period for candidates will commence on the 4th of October and conclude at noon on the 11th of October 2024. The People's Action for Free and Fair Elections, or PAFREL, has stated that the upcoming parliamentary election is expected to be the one with the least misuse of state resources in history. We believe that in this election we will see minimal misuse of state power and resources, and that the President will not directly use his executive powers. Therefore, all ministers should hand over their official vehicles, offices and related resources. Currently, only 4 cabinet ministers are functioning, and they will continue to do so during the election period. However, all other ministers must cease their activities and return all state resources to the government. The Institute for Democratic Reforms and Electoral Studies also believes that this will be the election with the least use of state resources since 1947. Our institute has observed that this parliamentary election is likely to see the minimal use of public resources since 1947. This is largely due to the very limited size of the cabinet.
National Executive Member of the National People's Power, Vasant Samarasinghe, visited the parking lot located next to the President's office in Colombo today.
National Executive Member of the National People's Power, Vasanta Samarasinghe, said that the government vehicles belonging to the President's office have been parked in several locations without being properly handed over.
This is how public property in our country has been misused until now. If Anura Kumara Dissanayaka had not become president, these vehicles would still be on the road. These vehicles operate using the public's fuel, taxes and funds. There is documented information regarding 833 vehicles belonging to the President's office, of which 29 were reported missing as of 2022. Additionally, 253 vehicles assigned to the President's office are currently being operated outside their intended use, meaning they are being utilized by external parties instead of by the President or the President's office. There are additional vehicles parked at the Foundation Institute and some adjacent to Luxala. These vehicles are parked irresponsibly. We have requested details about the personnel responsible for handing over these vehicles. To whom were they given? Were they handed over to a former president, a minister, the First Lady, an advisor to the President, another officer, or perhaps a driver? It is crucial to clarify who has been using these vehicles. This is just the beginning. I want to remind citizens that these individuals have squandered the resources of our country. Now they are forming alliances. What is their purpose? It is to plunder the country once again. The general election will be held on November 14 and many facts will be Minister Vijitha Herath assumed duties at several ministerial portfolios today.
Minister Vijitha Herath arrived at the Ministry of Public Security today and officially assumed his ministerial duties.
The biggest problem in the country right now is the passport issue. We are currently putting in a lot of effort to resolve it quickly. The director has assured us that between the 15th and 20th of October, it will be possible to eliminate the passport queues and issue new passports. We have also asked him to provide alternative measures to address the current passport issues.
අවසන් කරන්න අලුත් passport හඳුන්වා දෙන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. ඊට අමතරව ඊට මෙහා දැනට පවතින මේ පොලිම වෙනස් පොලිම් තත්ත්වය නැති කරන්න විකල්ප ක්‍රියාමාර්ග යෝජනා කරන්න කියලා අපි එතුමාට කියලා තියෙනවා.
The minister made a request to the police.
We are requesting police officials to change the erroneous methods that have existed until now. We will provide a detailed proposal regarding this. It is your duty to maintain law and order without the interference of politicians. Our ministers, members of parliament and OICs will not engage in perpetuating these old erroneous practices by instructing the police to do this or that. We assure the people of this country that moving forward, we will work differently to elevate the nation to a new level. We request all officials to commit to this collective effort.
The minister assumed duties at the Ministry of Mass Media located in Polhengoda today. The minister also assumed duties at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya said that her goal is to build an efficient and people-centric public service.
Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya made this statement during a discussion at the Prime Minister's office. Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya officially assumed her duties at the Prime Minister's office yesterday. Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya also met the Indian High Commissioner in Sri Lanka, Santosh Jha, for talks on Indo-Lanka ties.
Welcome back. The Supreme Court today ordered the remanding of the Controller General of Immigration and Immigration, Harsha Ilukpitiya, as a result of his failure to comply with the interim order issued by the Apex Court.
On the 2nd of August, the Supreme Court invalidated the government's decision to issue visas under the e-visa system and issued a relevant order to the Controller General.
Now, today's decision followed the reconsideration of petitions filed by former parliamentarians Partili Champika Ranawaka, M.S. Mandiran and Rauf Hakim.
The ruling was made by a bench comprising Justices Preeti Padman Surasena, Kumuduni Vikramasinghe and Achula Vengapuli.
What is the background story of this?
On the 2nd of August, the Supreme Court issued an interim order preventing the implementation of the Cabinet's decision to outsource the e-visa service for 2 foreign companies. Although more than a month has passed, the Controller General has disregarded the court's order. As a result, on the 13th of September, the petitioners filed a motion requesting the court to take appropriate legal action against him. Considering the submissions made in court, the Supreme Court ordered the petitioning parties to file charges against the Controller General as it appears to the court that he has deliberately neglected to comply with its orders. As a result, during today's hearing, the petitioners filed contempt of charges against the Controller General.
Did the Controller General of Immigration and Immigration appear in court today?
Yes, in accordance with the Supreme Court's orders from the previous trial, the Controller General of the Immigration and Immigration appeared before the court today and stated that he was not guilty of the charges against him. Faisal Mustafa, President's Counsel representing the Controller General, stated that his client did not intentionally defy the court's orders. He explained that while his client attempted to implement the court's orders, certain technical issues arose. However, M.A. Sumantiran, President's Counsel, argued that the Controller General had deliberately neglected to enforce the interim orders. Accordingly, he emphasized that having insulted the court, the Controller General must be remanded under the new Contempt of Court Act until the case is concluded. The Supreme Court justices emphasized that ignoring Supreme Court's orders is a serious matter and that it is the responsibility of the Supreme Court justices to uphold the rule of law, instructing prison officials to take him into custody. The petition is scheduled to be heard again on the 26th of January.
We filed a complaint with the Supreme Court regarding the e-visa scam. After reviewing the complaint, the Supreme Court issued a decision on August 2nd instructing a return to the old ETA system until the trial is concluded. However, the head of the department, the immigration controller, has failed to implement this order. We hope that today's Supreme Court judgment on the charge of contempt of court will serve as a reminder of the consequences for government officials who fail to uphold their duties.
The newly appointed governor sworn in today before President Anura Kumara Dissanayaka.
Hanif Yusu was sworn in as the governor of the Western Province before the president, while former vice-chancellor of the University of Peradeniya, Professor Sarath Abekun, was sworn in as the new governor of the Central Province. Senior Administrative Officer Bandula Harishchandra was sworn in as the new governor of the Southern Province. Tissa Kumara Sirivannasurya took office as the governor of the Northwestern Province. Wasantha Kumara Vimalasiri was sworn in as the governor of the North Central Province. Nagalingam Vedanayagam assumed his role as the new governor of the Northern Province. Jayantalal Ratnasekar was sworn in as the governor of the Eastern Province. Champa Janaki assumed the role as the governor of the Sabaragamuwa Province. Kapila Jayasekar was appointed as the new governor of the Uva Province. After the ceremony, the newly appointed governors addressed the media.
ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ උපදෙස් මොනවද ලැබුණේ අද ඔබතුමියලට?
ජනාධිපතිතුමා කියන්නේ දැන් රජයේ අපේ තියෙනවනේ මේ පිළිවෙතක් කරගෙන යන්න ජනතාවට සහායයක් වෙන හැමදේම කරන්න තීරණය ගන්න කිව්ව ජනතාව වෙන්නේ.
අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම ජනතාව බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන වෙනසක් ඒ වෙනස සැපයීම දැනෙන්න අපි සිරිම සහ ක්‍රියාකලාපයෙන් අපි පෙන්වුම් කරන්න ඕන. ඒ ජනතාවගේ බලාපොරොත්තු අපි ඉෂ්ට කරනවා.
The second test match between New Zealand and Sri Lanka is set to begin at the Galle International Cricket Stadium tomorrow.
The Sri Lankan team is set to take on New Zealand with the hope of clinching a Test cricket series victory against them after 14 years. Fast bowler Vishwa Fernando will not be included in the Sri Lankan squad due to injury, and spinner Nishan Peiris has been added to the squad to replace him. Ramesh Mendis, who participated in the first match, will also miss this game. Milan Ratnayaka, who made his Test debut against England, will join the squad in his stead. The Sri Lankan team held a training session today at the Galle International Cricket Stadium to warm up for the match tomorrow. The New Zealand playing 11 for the second test is yet to be announced. The match is scheduled to be held tomorrow at 10 a.m.
In my opinion, the team is ready. We have played a good game. Practices were not held yesterday and the players were given a rest. They have been playing continuously for the past few days. The players need physical and mental rest. We conducted a practice session today and we are satisfied with our preparation for the match.
And with that, we wrap up news for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Good night.